In the wake of the devastating tornado that destroyed much of their community March 3rd, the Upperman High School basketball teams were asked if they wanted to finish the season. Despite having 3 players that lost homes in the storm, the vote was unanimous to continue, and play on Upperman did. Their remarkable story in this curtain call.
I told Bobby the other morning, I said, how did our kids play? How did they go through a tornado on early Tuesday morning and turn around and play Wednesday and Thursday? I said, how did they do that? I mean, this is a lot about those kids.
It started as a typical March for Bobby and Dana McWilliams, husband and wife, and the varsity basketball coaches at Upperman High School. Then came the early morning hours of March 3rd, when the small town of Baxter stood in the path of a devastating EF4 tornado.
I actually got a call from my senior, Ashley McClellan, whose house was hit.
Rex Davis, one of my players, lives in the same neighborhood. He was in his house on the second floor when the tornado actually hit. And, the best he can tell you is that he stood up. His mom got him out of the bed. He stood up, and the next thing he knew, he was standing in the front yard.
Winds of 175 miles per hour ripped through the community, leveling nearly everything in its path and killing 19 in Putnam County. The McWilliams made contact with every single player on their teams. All were okay. But as daylight illuminated the destruction, a decision had to be made if basketball season was to go on.
We were actually scheduled to play that night. We gave our players the options whether they were going to, we totally left it up to them if they wanted to play.
It was a team meeting, just kind of comfort everybody. It was really emotional time. Everybody was so thankful that the 3 that were affected on our teams were okay, but then we realized that lives had been lost other places and everybody had a connection somewhere. So it was a real emotional time.
The players voted to play, and thanks to the cooperation of other coaches, the region tournament was postponed a day. But March 4th, some 40 hours after the tornado, the Upperman Bees were back on the court with their season on the line.
You could tell the energy was much different.
The Bees delivered a momentary distraction from the carnage back home with a win that guaranteed their spot in Sub-State. It was the first of 5 games in 6 days for the 2 programs. And after both teams lost in the region final, the Bees and Lady Bees faced elimination again. First up, girls Sub-State at Meigs County.
Everything going on, we just tried to, make the best of it, try to take that time to just try not to think about what was going on, and actually went to overtime. So it was, it was right down to the very last second.
In a game that went to double overtime, Ayana Levy hit 3 free throws in the final 14 seconds to win 44-42, giving a hurting community a reason to celebrate.
The emotions were really high in the locker room. After the game, a lot of our fans came out on the court, and it was a good celebration for us. It was really fun.
2 nights later, it went down to the wire again as the boys beat Howard Tech by the exact same score. Isaiah Allen's free throws with 5 seconds left gave the Bees a 44-42 lead, and they hung on for their 30th win of the season, sending both Upperman programs to the state tournament for the first time since 1999.
Tremendous amount of celebration in the locker room and after the game, and then, probably in 30 minutes into the bus ride, it really kind of calmed down a little bit. I think everybody was just mentally and physically just drained.
Less than a week after the tornado, Upperman once again stood tall, thanks to 2 teams that define the strength of their community.
You think you're close, and that you're even closer now because of that. And you just saw, a team and community is very resilient. Our community, the whole Putnam County, have been incredible.
Days later, the spread of COVID-19 forced a suspension of the state tournament before either team had a chance to play for a state title. But the disappointment pales in comparison to the accomplishment. That out of the rubble, these 2 teams came together and helped get a school and a community back on their feet.
We saw the magnitude of really what life's about, the things that happened leading up to them shutting the tournaments down, really put it in perspective for those kids. But like we said, we're just super proud of the way they were able to carry themselves.
There were much bigger things happening than our basketball games, and our kids understood that, we understood that. But I think it gave them, some happiness and a sense of pride for our community.
What a story, and God bless everybody in Putnam County. Remember, we are taking your curtain call nominations. Do you know an athlete or a team deserving of special recognition, especially with so many seasons that were cut short? Send them our way via email or social media.